I'm back yet again breaking down another team's finish. Today I'll be breaking down the Los Angeles Dodgers on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we are your number one source for fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Matthew Ane. You can find me on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at Matthew_Ane. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the bell below to subscribe to the channel and give you a notification every time we drop a new episode. Also, please leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple or Spotify, wherever you may listen. Really helps out the show. If you want a little bit more than what we offer in this 30-minute podcast, check us out on Subtext. We'll be able to get all your off-season needs to prep you for 2025. You can start this season with big returns on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. All right. We have a great episode. We are covering, unfortunately, the Los Angeles Dodgers World Series champions. And yay, good for them, I guess. So, yeah, that's how I feel about it. No, I'm kidding. Congratulations. They really did earn it. Shohei Ohtani definitely deserves MVP. And, the whole team as a whole was just the better team. Yankees couldn't do anything about it. It is what it is, right? Like, way to choke. But, yeah, I'm going to stop being a sour Yankee fan. We're going to break down the Dodgers for real now. They had a 98-64 season. Obviously, stellar run through the playoffs all the way to the World Series. They ultimately take home the ship. And good for them. It is what it is. Every single person on this team not every single, but about 60% of this team truly had a fantasy value or edge, and a lot of pieces were drafted and picked up throughout the season because this team just holds a whole bunch of fantasy value. The production is unreal. Whether you got hitters or pitchers, they're pretty stacked, and one of the many reasons why they've won. And let's kick it off with the best player in baseball this year, in my opinion at least, is Shohei Ohtani. Shohei just absolutely monstered the ball, made it its absolute pain. Like, where I want to say, I can't say it's family friendly show, but he championed that ball. 134 runs, 38 doubles, 7 triples, 54 home runs, 130 ribs, 59 stolen bases, batted a whopping 310, an OBP of 390, a slug of 646, and an OPS of 1036. Like, wow. Honestly, what I feel for Shohei Ohtani's season is like when I put MLB The Show on, like not even beginner, that earlier one, I forget what they call it, where like pretty much all they do is throw fastballs down the middle and all you got to do is time it, and it's a home run almost every time. It's essentially Shohei Ohtani's season. Just congratulations, man. You had a incredible season, and the scariest part is he probably is going to be one of the first people in a long time to take home MVP and Cy Young. It's going to happen. This dude is incredible. Next year he's coming back as a pitcher and just makes him even more valuable. So if like you play in a league where obviously, he is one person, there's not a separate player for both pitcher and hitter. He's the number one pick overall without a doubt. When you're in a league where it's separate, that's where things kind of change just a hair. So it's hard to justify him as like the number one overall pick outside of like, you look at this stellar, easy MLB show season and you go, yeah, how do you pass up on that? But like at the same time too, though, it's also about roster construction. And it's really hard to miss out on, roster positions like outfield, for instance, or, an elite second, third, for et cetera, right? Like an actual roster position where you have to fill multiples, right? Or just have where there's at a position that there's not like a lot of depth, like second base or third, for instance, right? Um, you know, that is where things kind of get a little mucky, and why Shohei Ohtani for me usually falls down the 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 board for me at least. Right, he's incredible, but I don't think I'm going to be drafting him where I was drafting him last year, where obviously we're scared of TJ and stuff like that, which he made that look like a yeah. He just was incredible, but he's definitely moving up because even so, I probably would have only drafted him in 8 this year. But this year, after this kind of season, and now that we've seen the stolen bag elite numbers, I kind of like have to move him up into the top 5, probably like 4 or 5 for me in total. It just I want to grab like the elite Bobby Witt that is guaranteed to get the stolen bases. That's done it 2 years in a row. The batting average and power that's there, obviously not at the elite level like Shohei Ohtani, but at the same time, it's a shortstop position, right? So it's harder to get shortstops as it goes down. I can draft anybody to be my UT. So it's a little bit harder to fill out the roster. Me grabbing these guys is a little bit better. For me, at least. And that's my draft um, theory, I guess is what we can say. So that's how I feel on Shohei Ohtani in terms of draft. I won't blame you if you take him 1 overall, 2 overall, 3 overall, 4 overall, and where I'll probably take him is 5 if he even falls to me. And I doubt he will this season, and that's just me. I won't get a lot of shares of him. But like again, that's just how you want to construct your team is how you feel comfortable. You'll see. Like I definitely challenge you. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this part of the segment, this part of my Shohei Ohtani take. But I will say this: once mock drafts open up, and you do open up at the top of the draft, and you have the first pick, for instance, try and mock and build a team after drafting Shohei Ohtani 1 overall. With your first pick at all, it's very challenging, especially if it's not at the back end of the draft. And it creates challenges and you having to reach to get to not have a deficit at other positions when you could have had them at least had an advantage going in earlier in the draft at a position. And it varies. So you'll see, but I think we're going to have to pay a minimum of a 5th overall pick. And quite honestly, that is where I'll do it because then you know what? It will be worth me building it. And it's a little bit more of a shorter run, right? Like, so going 1, I have to wait, or even 2, I have to wait literally 23 or 24 picks until my next pick. So I lose out on that. Whereas like at 5, 6, 7, you can recover. You're in the middle of that draft order where you just have 10 to 12 picks in between, and you could still pick up and not lose the advantage versus having the number 1 overall pick of Shohei Ohtani and then getting the 24th best player. And that's the kind of challenge you're going to have when drafting Shohei Ohtani at number 1. And that's just the whole part of that for me, at least. I hope you understand now where I'm coming from. If not, please leave in the message. I would love to explain more. I do want to move on because I spent a lot of time on the king here of Shohei Ohtani. I want to move on to Mookie Betts. Caught a lot of flack for this too, and we talked about him on the rankings debate. But like, here's the thing, right? Mookie Betts is an incredible, incredible player. I'm not going to knock it whatsoever. He's 32 years old and still playing at an incredible level. My thing is, he isn't the exact player we wanted, right? Which puts him above or less than that puts him above the rest anymore, right? He doesn't steal a lot of stolen bases. He actually hasn't done that in quite some time, which is never why he's never really been a number 1 overall player for me. He hasn't stolen over 20 bags in a single season since 2018 when he had 30 last. Everything else has been 16 as high as this year and in 2019, and then it's been 10, 10, 12, 14. So like there's still great chip in numbers, but it's not like he's hitting like 45 home runs or anything of the sort, and where I have to move him down a little bit, right? So he's kind of like the 7th or 8th pick overall, if not 9th. I still don't think I'll definitely probably end up grabbing him earlier, depending on what's around there. But like, you got to look at it like this: you're gonna have the Shoheis, you're gonna have the Tuckers, the Ellie De La Cruzes, the Bobby Witt Juniors. You know, you're gonna have a whole bunch of players in the mix where like Mookie Betts is absolutely excellent. He's all reliable. He is great 1st-round pick. But there's no 5 category ceiling where he could finish as the number 1 overall player in fantasy. Not real baseball, but fantasy. And that is the part that kind of kills it for me. Where, like, I guess he could if he decided to go out there and hit 54 home runs. But that would be a career high at age 32. And I just don't foresee that happening. His highest home run season was 39. So to go and get like a 45, 50 home run season is a little bit of a stretch. So with Mookie Betts, I just want to taper expectations, kind of move him down the draft board just a hair. You know, no longer a top 3, top 4 pick, more of like a 7, 8, 9, and it'll be a little bit better, even though he has the positional eligibility of second, short, um, and outfield, and probably another one out there. He almost plays every position in fantasy on there. So Mookie Betts, even though he's a I guess a tool, I forget what it's called at this point, but a multifaceted tool, he still doesn't draw that higher end pick for me. There's guys I just would prefer to draft higher. But coming up next, I'm going to cover the rest of this team at a much faster pace, I promise. And we'll get through all that and all the beautiful pitching towards the end of this. So stick around. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place all your live bets on NFL and all in one place. So if you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you can place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com today to join. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And guys, let's make that $5 bet count. Just bet against the Giants. It's so easy to do, and it's going to pan out every single time, unfortunately. So with that piece of knowledge, FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Introducing the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast Diamond Club on Subtext, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. Rely on all our content this offseason, right? Redraft rankings, dynasty rankings, prospect rankings, sleepers, breakouts, busts, and not just our general ones that we cover on this show, our individual ones we feel the full list, right? And it's a lot more than what we give out on this show. On top of that, you'll be able to ask us questions. You'll be able to get advice on trades, keepers, etc., even draft methodology, all that stuff right there in one place. So check us out. Links in the description below. You get a free 2 weeks for checking us out. Let's get back into baseball. It's a good one. So about Mr. Freddie Freeman. Quite honestly, he had a good season, but I feel like didn't live up to the draft price. And reason being is I was an owner this year and paid up for him. He was going at the end of the first, top of the second, and he had a solid season. I'm not knocking it, but at the end of the day, though, it's definitely not what we expected, especially after 2023's campaign. 542 at bats, 81 runs, 35 doubles, 2 triples, 22 bombs, 89 ribs, 9 stolen bases, 78 walks, 100 strikeouts. That part is nice. Batted 282, OBP of 378, a slug of 476, and an OPS of 854. So where he left me wanting more, essentially, is the home runs categories for sure, right? Like 29 home runs in 2023, 22 went down. Maybe he does the Aaron Nola. Now that I'm looking at the under 90, and then even the runs at 81. Like it's just not his prototypical year, and even the batting average was down. He batted under 300 for the first time since 2020, which is kind of bananas. And one of his 3 seasons, I would say, 4 seasons since being a full-time player in his whole career. He's a career batting average of 300. So it was just a lackluster year this year for Freddie Freeman. Definitely left me wanting for more and upset that I wasted such high draft capital on him. But it was a weird year in general. A lot of players didn't live up, or a lot of players had a lot slower starts than we expected. Freddie Freeman just didn't do it this year. If I'm a betting man and I'm looking at his trend, I think 2025 might be pretty good. So he's still top end first baseman for me. I think, 2 or 3, maybe, 2 or 3 at the position. It's, give or take. It's really just between like Bryce Harper and him. I feel like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the upside is too great for that. So that's why he'll be the number one. And then even you throw, depending on, Pete Alonso lands, could also come in the mix. And I don't think I'll have him higher than Freddie Freeman, but can affect the flow of the other two. So we'll see. Freddie Freeman's still going to be a great asset for 2025. I think he'll fall a little bit later in drafts, but by later, probably about mid to late second round, no longer a first round opportunity. But yeah, let's move on. We're talking about a catcher, Will Smith. Will Smith literally proves why you should never draft the number 1, 2-ish catcher or any catcher in the top 100, right? He had a great season in 2023. Great season. 464 at bats. He had 80 runs. He had 21 doubles, 2 triples, 19 bombs, 76. This year had more at bats, 77, 24 doubles, 75 ribs, a stolen base, and batted 248. Now, you're going to look at me like I'm crazy. Matt, it's similar seasons. Correct, it is. But batting average was down a little bit. And, yeah, he chipped your home run, but the top 100. I don't think so. I really don't. Sorry if I cut out there. I apologize. I'm going to just kind of go back. I had a little bit of technical difficulties, but ultimately, where I was going with Will Smith is essentially, is his production actually worth a top 100 pick, right? And that's the draft strategy you kind of got to bring in it, right? No, there's no real upside either, outside of just having the advantage at the position. But is it much of an advantage if he isn't doing what he did in 2022? We're chasing it, but it's not even that much crazier. He just had literally 4 more home runs than he did this year and 10 more ribs and batted a lot better batting average. But I don't see the appeal or the draw as to why I would draft him in the top 100, any catcher for that matter, in the top 100. It doesn't compute with me. I always end up feeling like when I go earlier on a catcher, I lose out on a higher end player and a position where I got to fill multiple, whether you're playing with corner infield or middle infield or just, a position with depth, with not a lot of depth. Like I mentioned with a Shohei Ohtani at the top of the draft, right? Like, where are you willing to take these players to lose at the advantage of other positions and then have to take a way lower player at that position, and then where you could have got a catcher that will be 25% less as good as Will Smith, and you'll pay about 50 or 60 or even 70 picks later. Yeah, I'll go with that. It's like, okay, it's the same methodology of football when you're playing fantasy football, right? You wait on quarterbacks, right? And there isn't even a difference maker like a Mahomes or a Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen that would even make it worth it. There's no upside at any catcher right now because Rutschman hasn't even lived up to that, where we thought he could be the next Buster Posey. So you just got to take a step back and kind of evaluate and say, okay, cool. I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to stack up my team at all these elite players at all the other positions and worry about my onesie, even my twosie. Even if there's 2 of these, I still can go and grab players later to add up, and I can stream the position all day long because some of these catchers don't even play every day. Who cares? Who cares? When it comes to catchers, they are my lowest priority. You don't really get a serious advantage anymore. The JT Realmutos are done. The Buster Posey's are gone. So, and the Rutschmans haven't lived up to it. So I just feel we just need to wait and just kind of get whatever we can out there that's without paying a top 100 pick. And hopefully he starts falling below because then we can readjust the talk. But it looks like next year, I guarantee, because it was similar production, he'll end up in the top 100. And you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot and starting off on the wrong foot by drafting him in the top 100. And it's not a knock on Will Smith and the talent. It's really just a knock on drafting a catcher in the top 100. All right. Coming up next, we are finally getting to this plethora of pitchers. And, man, I can talk about them all day long. But I'll prioritize, and we'll keep going because I got about 6 pitchers here that I think are all relevant for 2025. Coming up next. The World Series, Super Bowl, the Olympics, the world's top athletes get to play in these top level sporting events thanks to one thing: teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. Select Quotes licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. You can find you the right policies to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. Select Quotes is the number one is one of the America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, helping over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. Other life insurance brokers offer impersonal, one size fit all policies that may cost you more and cover you less, while Select Quotes licensed insurance agents work for you to tailor life insurance policies for your individual needs in as little as 15 minutes. You invest so much time to take care of yourself and to be the healthiest, best version of you can. Select Quotes exclusive policies can reward that efforts. If you're in good health, they work with the carriers that can get you the same day coverage for up to $5 million, no medical exam required. Head to selectquotes.com and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life for your budget. Get the right life insurance for you for less at the selectquotes.com/locked on. Go to selectquotes.com/locked on today to get started. That's selectquotes.com/locked on. All right, and we are back, and we are going to round out this show with Yoshimoto Yamamoto. Or Yashim, I can't say it. I'm sorry. That was the best I could do. But Yoshinobu, I apologize, Yamamoto. Love the country, was just there. Um, Honestly, great season. I'm very impressed. Wish he would have pitched more, but the injuries didn't really help. But hey, man, he had a good season. And next year, ooh, it's gonna be fun because now I really trust him, and he's only 26. Oh, it's gonna be so good. I don't mean to get this excited, but man, was it good. If you weren't following him, 90 innings pitched, 105, 105 strikeouts, a 3 ERA on the dime, pitched about 18 games, and had a whip of 111 and a FIP of 261. Dude was absolutely amazing. Lived up to all the hype, and I wasn't really sure, was he going to take this step this early? I had my doubts, but I still wanted that upside last year. And man, did it pay off if you took the risk, even though you had to deal with him not playing for a good chunk of the season, unfortunately. But still, when he did play, oh, he was so dominant. Let's just hope that 2026 he can stay healthy. 2025, he can stay healthy. He really killed it, though. Great movement on all his pitches. xERA of 344, obviously a little worse than his actual ERA, but give him a pass. Fastball velocity sitting at 95.5. Average exit velocity was beautiful at only 88.44 miles an hour. Got guys chasing 31.7% of the time. Got guys whiffing at 27% of the time. Strikeouts nearly at 28.5% of the time. Barely walked anybody. I would just like to see a little less barreling and for him to reduce the hard contact. He's allowing hard contact at 41.3% of the time. That needs to change and get that down to into like the mid 30s, and he's going to be that much better. And SP1 is definitely in the cards for him, and he produces a lot of ground balls, which helps make up for it. So I like that. He also has a plethora of pitches. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total pitches in his arsenal, and he is fantastic. He really leans on his four seam fastball at 40% of the time, and that had a batting average of about 262. He has a split finger, which was fantastic, throwing that about 24 miles an hour, and that goes 90 miles an hour in my head. And that's a batting average of 170. And then a curveball, which feels untouchable. He throws that 23% of the time, and that has a batting average of 214. Now, the cutter got lit up a little bit, but barely threw it at only 6%. Slider only at like 3.3%. And the sinker at 2.9%, and barely even throwing that sweeper, but it is what it is. He had success with all but two pitches, his cutter and his sinker. But there's better times to come for that. I think that he's going to be fantastic. And it's crazy too. I just think that he is just so talented and has such a great arsenal. The more he's able to mix up that pitch mix, the more lethal he's going to be and create those putaways. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is going to be a fantasy stalwart for 2025. Super excited for him. So about Tyler Glasnow and his glassy season, because my guy went down yet again, unfortunately. He is never a picture of health. Did manage to start about 22 games, which is the same as last year. Only managed to get about 134 innings pitched, but had insane numbers: 168 strikeouts through that time, and a 3.49 ERA. Along with that, a 0.94 WHIP. Great numbers and a FIP of 290. Look, he is stellar. He's a great talent when he's out on that mound. You just really want to see him pitch a full season for once, like 180, 190, possibly even 200 innings. We have never seen it from him, which is scary. So, yes, Glass now has all the upside in the world, but here's the thing. I look at these rankings and where the possible landings can be, and I just don't feel comfortable walking away with him as my SP1. Call me crazy, but I'm a little bit more conservative when it comes to like the guys that I'm placing first at a position. I like this or like a first pick or first couple picks in general. Glass now is obviously going to be a higher cost, and on top of that, it's just going to be somebody that you're if he's your SP1, you really have to hit on that too. Somebody that's going to be healthy and long, and you don't want to lean on that. So like, if he's my SP2 all day, I'll take it. I doubt I'm going to get him, but I'd rather he be on somebody else's team than mine because God forbid I miss him for half a season or a couple months. It's just not going to be fun to own Tyler Glass now, and it could really cost you a lot of wins. So for me, it's just going to be hard for me to draft him. Let's move on. Let's talk about Dustin May. I'm excited for him. I can't wait for him to return. Dustin May obviously was hurt, I believe. I believe he got a little bit of action this year. I'm trying to pull that up, but no, not at all. Sorry, I'm looking at 23. I think he went down to TJ. I'm not exactly sure. I have to pull that up. Sorry, I'm not prepared with this one. But he is a talent and a half. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy ever. He's 25 years old though, so there's still plenty of future ahead of him. And this is why I'm willing to go ahead and say, hey, I want to draft him. I think he'll come at definitely a discount. It's just a matter of when his return date is. Dustin May can be somebody that we're going to want to, take a look at. Hopefully, he comes in as a value and can be a serious contributor as long as he can stay out on that mound. Let's hope that this year is the first year. He's still only going to be 26. You can't count him out yet. There's still a lot of road to go with Dustin May. And I guarantee you the first full season, this dude is going to go the distance. Okay. He is a K per nine, if not over, low ERA kind of guy. And, doesn't really walk a lot of guys either. He has all the tangibles to be a SP, 2, if not an SP1 in his future if he can manage to string a couple healthy seasons together. Dustin May can seriously shake the ground wherever he goes. Dustin May is awesome. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the sad season of Bobby Miller. Bobby Miller really learned how to, disappoint people. Had high expectations. Drafted him as your number 2 pitcher in a lot of leagues I saw. I got him as a 3, and man, it was disappointing. Finished with an 8.52 ERA through 56 innings. Only managed to get about 52 strikeouts and had a WHIP of 1.76. I do not know what went wrong. A guy that was absolutely incredible his rookie season, where he went 124 innings pitched, 119 strikeouts, a 3.76 ERA with a 1.10 WHIP. What happened, dude? They sent him down. They never really brought him back up. He couldn't do it. He had no movement on any of his pitches, all super flat. Oh my God, it would literally be like it's a mosquito bite. And if you catch my drift, like it's bad. And the only thing that was good was his fastball velocity sitting at 97.5 miles an hour. And he was able to produce ground balls, but that's it. Everything else is so blue and ugly. Oh, please bounce back. What I'm doing with him next year is he's going to, if he makes the team, there might be a sensation of hype a little bit, but he's going to come at such a nice value. I will take a lottery scratcher on him, and hopefully he turns around and does it. That's why we're talking about him, because I still think he'll have something for us if he can figure it out. Definitely worth taking a shot on if he's going late in drafts. Honorable mention is River Ryan. Came up this year, was fantastic. I forgot what the injury that kept him out. Hopefully he's back next year. But kid is a great talent. I just want to throw him out there. Honorable mention. in his minor league career in 2023, 104 innings pitched, 110 strikeouts, and a 3.8 ERA. Whip was a little high, but man, he's such a talent. I cannot wait to see what he's going to be. Age 26. Oh, please come back next year and be good. We'll find out. Guys, thank you so much for being with me today. It was somewhat of an honor to cover the World Series champions. I'm just kidding. But yeah, it was a good show. Good time. Thank you. Hopefully you got some out of it. And please like, subscribe, comment, rate, review. Do whatever you can to help this show out and share this show with everybody. We really appreciate it. And since you love us so much, check out Locked On MLB. Covers the whole league as a whole, not from a fantasy baseball perspective, but actual from real baseball. Find out all the offseason moves and things like that from Sully. He's a great host. That being said, guys, have a great rest of your day. Peace.